For the past 35 years, I've been the CEO and president of the Housing Assistance Corporation. The Housing Assistance Corporation, which we call HAC, is a regional nonprofit affordable housing organization located in Hyannis, Massachusetts. And we serve the three-county area, Barnstable, which is Cape Cod, Marshall County that is, Dukes and Nantucket, which are the two islands off of the Cape. Our mission is to see that everyone in our region has a decent and safe and secure place to live. How can we as a responsible organization be around 35 years and not try to make a difference where we can really improve the lives of society as a whole, not just the individual we serve? I don't think a person of conscience, intelligence, and caring can do that. So, Community Green is trying to achieve three things: decent, affordable housing, which is obvious, a sense of community and trust. That is, you can feel safe in being there. You can have some common values with the people who are there. A community where there is job training and jobs, sometimes sheltered jobs for those who need a little help getting to work every day and taking all those responsibilities to heart without going over the edge, and where values of conservation will be taught. Some people would say, you know, you've been working on it so long, I don't think it's ever going to happen. You guys are just wasting your time. We may be wasting some time. We may not be doing it efficiently, but we're going to do it. And we want to do it because we think it's important. And we may succeed and we may fail. You know, when you're trying something new, when you're trying to find a cure for AIDS or cancer, you know, you're not sure you're going to succeed. But that doesn't minimize the importance of doing the research to find a cure for a difficult malady. And this certainly is a malady in our society, and we want to find a partial cure for it and do our part. Behind me is the carriage house that we purchased in 1989 as a shelter, a family shelter. It houses young mothers, usually first-time mothers, in a congregate setting. There are eight to 9 bedrooms here, so it can accommodate 9 families. The carriage house is unusual in that it is a beautiful building, architecturally speaking. It was built in 1902 as a carriage house for a Victorian house that was up in the front of the property that later burned down. And when we bought it from a well-to-do family that had raised their 6 kids here and who didn't want to sell it to us because of the purpose we intended to use it for. But at the time we'd done a video of one of our other shelters and we gave them a video, and the next day they called us and said, we'd be happy to sell it to you, and they've donated back all of the money we paid for the facility in the ensuing years. What is so helpful about this is that it's a congregate setting, that is where everybody comes together in common spaces. And so the peer learning from young first-time mothers who have crises in their lives has been tremendous here. It's just a very effective place. The young mothers, you know, cook meals and share all of the things they do in some of the other facilities, but here it's congregated in a 2-acre pastoral setting with a wonderful playground out back and other facilities. The philosophy is, of course, that you don't want to make people who you're hoping will have aspirations for their lives suffer in a horrible place. You want them to go somewhere where there's hope. And there's a rock here that says on it, "Hope lives here." Is the philosophy of the place is elevate people's expectations. They're coming to a shelter and they think that is the lowest point in their life. They've reached bottom. But when they get here, they see that, you know, there are things about this that aren't as bad as they thought. When a parent comes and visits, they go, wow, this place is pretty nice. Wow, I never thought of a shelter as looking like this. And the point is, the young women that are here are beginning to move up when they come here, not hitting bottom. And that's the purpose. You create momentum as they move up, and you do it partly with quality facilities. So it again is another step towards the Community Green product and outcome, where the quality facility informs to some extent what people can believe about themselves and what they can expect from themselves in terms of setting goals and achievements. we used to kind of kid among ourselves in the 80s that we didn't want then Governor Mike Dukakis to come here because this is too nice. And I think Governor Dukakis would be proud because it ultimately has cost the taxpayers nothing to buy this place, and it has made a difference in so many people's lives by setting a positive example for what it can be like and the hope people have in moving on with their lives. We have sheltered and housed a lot of people over our existence. I think the number that we came up with is about 100,000 people we've served overall. But of course it isn't really about those statistics with us, because it's about taking each individual that comes to us, that comes through our doors, about 30 a day, that have a crisis in their lives, and helping them get on their feet and becoming self-sustaining. And it's the human connection that really motivates us. The biggest sense of satisfaction that I get by far, and it's an emotional reaction, is when somebody is able to succeed. That is, they're in a horrible state. They're in a state that I could never recover from, and with a little bit of help from us and a lot of determination on their part, they essentially get on their feet, they raise their children, they maintain jobs, they get education, they reunite with an ex or their families and so forth, and they go on essentially living productive lives. I can tell lots of stories, but the favorite story I tell is about a girl, a young woman, now in her 40s, who came to us after having been homeless in her years growing up, was in 9 foster homes, grew up in the streets of Boston, was an alcoholic, an intravenous drug user, and so forth, and now has been sober for 20 years, has a young daughter, went back and finished college, and so forth. In fact, I just got a call from her when we were in the house moments before we started filming, where she was yelling into the phone, I'm a homeowner, I just closed on my house today. And you know, that's something I never could have done in her situation, but I certainly want to be in a position to help other people do it. And it's an inspiration to me. So many of the people that society thinks are at the bottom and useless to society can become some of the most useful people and important people in society because they understand the whole continuum. And so many of us live a sheltered life and we don't understand the continuum, the struggles that people have to really make it in this great land of opportunity. And we're just an organization that helps to roll out the red carpet of opportunity for people, and many take advantage of it. And so this is part of the red carpet treatment. Well, Community Green, of course, is about spaces in part. It's a 47-acre parcel, so it creates some intense use on part of the land, and 70% of the land is preserved. So all around them, people have nature and the way things originally were to experience. And then within the complex, they have things as they now are. And the buildings are laid out in a way to all focus on the Enterprise Center, so that when you come out of your unit, you look at the Enterprise Center, which is the hub of activity for this little village. And so everybody will participate in the Enterprise Center and activities there, whether they're recreational activities, whether they're social activities, whether they're job training, or actually working there as part of their life in this little community. And so here we have another type of little community, and where people get on with their lives. There it's more comprehensive because people expect to live there a long time. They're getting their living there or in the industrial park that it abuts, and becoming really happy with the situation they've created for themselves. And we've rolled out the red carpet to make it possible for them to create that. What really happens in housing, in your own house, is how you behave in that house that makes the difference. It isn't the house itself. We all spend a lot of time creating spaces that are just right to facilitate the good behavior. And part of that is knowing your limitations and accepting yourself as who you are, and making changes where you need to make changes. That's what all of these programs are supposed to do, and Community Green essentially is the last step before total independence. And so it's the very last step, and it's a step that can last a few months or many years. It really doesn't matter. But the keying up to jobs and being able to support yourself in housing is the psychologically important aspect of this. You know, I think we have the myth in our society that people really want to be on the dole, you know, but I think what I've experienced is that work in our society is a privilege. We have a free society where you're able to choose to get an education if you can, and able to choose the work you want to do and stick to it. It's a privilege to have a job. I know I go to my job every day and get great satisfaction out of what I do, and I hope that for other people as well. And in lots of times, in even the most menial jobs, there's really something important to be accomplished that you bring home to your self-esteem, to your kids, to your spouse, to your education, to your future. So that housing is our specialty, but having a satisfying job is part of the element of human health. And there's the physical health, there's the spiritual health, you know, activities and discipline and spirituality and housing are all important elements of this, all that can come together in a place like Community Green. There are some people that think that when you make something like this too nice, you're enabling people to be dependent. And sure, I'm very aware of that. We've worked on dependency issues, of course, because some of the programs we run do, in fact, create dependence, and we work on that. We look at it from the other side, that people who don't believe in themselves can't use their own resources to best advantage. We're trying to get people to use their own resources. All of us are our own best resource. The only person that manages me is me. And if I don't manage me well, I can't do anything. I listened to a program on the radio the other day about successful executives self-destructing, you know, by forgetting that they had to manage themselves while they're managing everybody else. And managing me is the hardest job that I have. People, the young mother with a child, managing herself and her mothering is the hardest job she has. It's not about managing the kid, it's about managing herself. And so we try to put people into an environment where they think they begin to have some control over self-management. They don't stay here forever, they can't. And they want to move on. People's inclination is when they have one success, they want to stabilize at that level and then move up to the next level. We all have the same instincts, whether it's educational, learning how to play the piano, making more money, raising children that are successful in school, that are successful in marriage, that are successful in jobs, successful in sports growing up. We all want those things, and we're all willing to work towards them. But if you don't go to the grocery store if there are no groceries, even though you need to eat. You need to have the ability to go to that storehouse of skill that you have and to use it effectively and to be able to find it. And so we try to create environments where people can find those deep skills and strengths that they have. And you know, we've been very successful, but it's all in how you treat people. I mean, today, as we've gone around and done some filming, you know, I've bumped into a number of clients, and I always love to engage clients and talk to them because I had a lot of respect for them. When we were at the Noah shelter, there was a client who was sick in bed, but he seemed to be doing okay, and so we talked, and I don't have disrespect for the person. In fact, I have a tremendous amount of respect for him because of the battle he has to fight, and I know he's fighting. Looking at his face, I know he's fighting the battle, and he feels a little ashamed to be there. I don't want him to be ashamed. I want him to be proud of the fact that he can make a difference in his own life, and we're going to be there to support him and respect him or her in that process. Our experience is that most developments, most shelters, most affordable housing developments are opposed by the neighborhood during the period of construction or acquisition. The Carriage House was no exception. We had a gathering of neighbors, all of whom were opposed to this, and I met with them, and there was the usual recriminations and so forth. And we went ahead and acquired the property and have used it this way for 20 years, and we haven't had a single complaint from a neighbor in the 20 years. In fact, the neighbors oftentimes come to social events here and have volunteered and contributed money in some cases. And in fact, the people that sold us the house told me quite recently that their concern in selling us the house was the reaction of the neighbors. And they said that since then, the neighbors that they still know, have said very flattering things about what goes on here. The purpose of telling you that is not so much about the good job we're doing, is that these kinds of things, when done well and with a consideration towards your impact in the neighborhood, cannot be a negative. But part of the behavior we're trying to teach the people here is, among other things, being good neighbors. Because we're not as an organization here to destroy neighborhoods. Quite the opposite. We're trying to make neighborhoods better. And so the people that are here have to not only make their lives better within their families, but the holistic part of life is to be a good citizen of the larger community, to sort of give back what the benefits of citizenship and good health and so forth have given to you. And it's a very hard thing to do when you have been abused in some way, where schools and family and finances have not been kind to you. But when you begin to move up, things can get better. And that way, the neighborhood and the facility merge all in a common goal to make it a better neighborhood. In Community Green, our experience is one of extreme hostility in the community. Certainly our most difficult experience, and it was a long battle. But there's a certain amount of groupthink that takes place too, where people who come from the neighborhoods purport to be experts, and they purport that the developer, not in this case us, doesn't know what we're doing, and so forth and so on, that we're going to bring horrible people in, and all the rumors start about what horrible things we're planning, and all of this is about making money, and we don't care about them, and so forth and so on. And so there's the, the basic credibility that we had to establish. There's the validating of our purpose, and in appealing to people's best instincts to not just protect what's theirs, but to share what's theirs so that people can have a better lives that ultimately enhances their own lives. And I think the most common thing that I thought about at the time was, is it a positive thing for a child to understand what goes on in a homeless shelter and to participate in some of that? And I think it is. You know, my children have certainly participated in this kind of thing because it gives them an understanding. One thing is that everybody's equal, that you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't look at a homeless person and understand that the person might have a PhD and has all kinds of potential. And you can't look at and be sure a minister or priest is entirely a good guy. And in life, we have all makes and models, and you have to live and learn to understand how all of that works. And in the case of Community Green, the community's going to love that when this facility is done. I mean, it's going to be an incredible beacon of light in that community. It's going to pay taxes. It's going to provide community spaces for the larger community. It's the community garden there now. It's going to be a very healthy place for the community, so that, you know, if 20 years from now we look back and go into the community, there's going to be, I think, almost nothing but positives, as there has been with this facility. It's just that one's larger and more complex and creates more fears than this one did. I'm a very optimistic person, but my optimism has brought me things that I never thought I would ever have. And one of the things is the blessing of the ability to conduct this incredibly worthwhile social experiment over my entire career to help people, which is the thing that I think is most fun to do. I mean, it's just that that's the way I am. It sounds really ingenuine, but you know, I think helping people is very satisfying. It's the most satisfying thing. And so I'm optimistic because I think this has been such a success, and that I'm pedaling hard in the later years of my life to continue that success and create a ton of momentum so that the next person who takes over can do twice as much as I did. And that would be joyous for me in an afterlife, to look down and see this thing as, they forgot all about me and it's twice as successful now as it was before. You know, we have to do that all over the world. I mean, you know, the world is on our shoulders. I mean, President Obama has this incredible burden, but we should share a little bit of that burden in our everyday lives in terms of improving the lives of others and improving conditions in society. And whether it's buying an energy efficient car or whether, you know, whatever it is, it's important we all contribute to the health in the world and not worry about what somebody else is doing. It's number one, we have to worry about how we behave. And that's what our organization, that's what these facilities are all about.
Housing Assistance Corporation has helped over 100,000 people since 1974. In just 1 year, HAC conducted 339 single-family energy audits to reduce electrical use, weatherized 200 single-family homes, provided housing guidance and services to over 5,000 people, assisted 599 households with mortgage foreclosure and reverse mortgage counseling, sheltered 229 families, which included 335 children, served 547 different homeless women and men at the NOAA Center, prevented almost 500 families, including over 1,000 children, from becoming homeless, administered 935 rental subsidies for families, elders, veterans, and disabled clients, paid $8 million in rent annually to landlords, 70% of whom are local, and with the help of over 500 volunteers, served 43,800 meals.